Jake?
And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story. Real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show with Lance Roberts, presented by RIA Advisors.
And welcome to the show this morning. It's hump day, of course, Wednesday being the day. And as we get ready to wrap up this week, next week is really the last full week of the year in terms of trading. Get into Christmas, the end of the year, pre-New Year's, ain't nobody gonna be around, as they say. It's gonna be pretty desolate here starting next week in the markets. But yesterday, of course, CPI came out. And now the interesting thing about CPI yesterday is it came in right on the screws. It was expected that we're gonna have a 0.1% increase in CPI. At the headline, the core was going to be up 0.3, exactly the way the number came in yesterday. Initially, the market wasn't quite sure what to do with it. By the end of the day, kind of figured it out that, hey, this was good for the Fed in terms of keeping them at bay of not hiking rates because it wasn't too hot or too cold, right? There's nothing in that report yesterday that suggested that there's a resurgence of inflation going on. And again, as we've talked about before, the Fed doesn't want deflation, right? They don't want a negative print in CPI, right? They really want that 0.1, 0.2% increase because if you take 0.1 or 0.2, right, for the entire year, 0.2 in January, February, March, April, May, June, that's 2.4% growth rate in inflation. That's what they want. They want around that 2% number is what they're looking for. So they want goods to be 2.4% higher every year, right? Because if you get that, economic growth should be around 2.5% a year. That means people are working, your employment stays good, your wage growth is okay, and the economy functions, right? You don't want deflation, which is basically a lot of bad stuff happening, right? So they want inflation. So a lot of mistake here that people want deflation. That's not really the case at all. Okay. So the number yesterday, right in line with Scrooge, take a look at that number. Basically, inflation is just kind of tacking along here. We're bringing inflation down at 3%, trying to get below that number. If we keep going at this current rate, 0.1, into next year, 0.1, 0.2, we will be below 3% in a couple more months. And so that's going to get you that 2 handle, which is also going to suggest that yields need to come down more, right? And so yields currently at 4.2%-ish right now. Those need to be below 4. Those need to be in the 3s at some point to align interest rates with inflation because those are all economically correlated with each other because that's the way the economy works. So again, the market kind of started out a little bit off balance yesterday morning when that number first came in. But by the end of the day, markets rallied nicely because, well, they figured out, hey, this is good for the Fed, going to keep the Fed on hold. Well, we'll find out today, what that is actually going to look like because this afternoon at 2 o'clock, Jerome Powell will come out with the latest FOMC announcement. And again, no, there is zero expectation of a rate hike today. So if the Fed really wanted to shock the markets, they could hike rates. Don't think they will. So no rate hike today. The question, as we talked a little bit about yesterday, is what will the Fed say, right? This is going to be, it's going to be all about the commentary. Do they start to put out a tone that says, we're done hiking rates? We have reached the neutral rate. We are restrictive enough. Whatever the terminology is that going to be the language that we hear this afternoon? Or do we hear language that, hey, we're not done with this inflation fight yet. We could still hike rates if necessary. A more hawkish stance towards the potential of needing to hike rates further. This idea of higher for longer gets forcefully implemented today. That could weigh on markets because markets are expecting right now rate cuts. Headline on CNBC, as I'm saying this, headline on CNBC right now, are rate cuts on the horizon, right? They're wanting rate cuts. The market wants these rate cuts sooner rather than later. Why? Because rate cuts lead to better economic, better economic activity, brings your mortgage rate down, also brings stock prices up. People are starting to do this. And it's interesting because I wrote an article on Tuesday talking about this very same thing, that, we have the market, the Federal Reserve has been training investors now. We talked about it yesterday. The Federal Reserve has been training investors for the last 13 years. They cut rates to QE, stock prices go up. So again, investors front running the markets so far, trying to get ahead of that rate cut because they don't want to mess out on the bottom. We'll see what happens this afternoon. But here's what you need to know before the bell this morning. Markets, again, like I said, markets rallied yesterday. Importantly, markets are making new highs for this year, right? That's great. Still not making new highs for the market period. So, we're still going back 2 years. Still don't have record highs, but we're certainly getting there. We're very close to actually pinching a record high here. It's going to take about another, 150 points on the S&P, certainly possible. If the Fed came out today and cut rates, we'd have a 150-point day in the market. We'd be at new highs. That's not going to happen. But we're still trying to recover all this that we lost during 2022, trying to get that back. It's been a very long road to get there, but we're slowly getting there. Here's the thing I wanted to point out to you though this morning is that I can't overemphasize this issue of the markets being very overbought right now. And this is just something that happens repeatedly over time. And we see this often as, I got an email yesterday, great comment. It's this market is just, nothing's going to stop this market. It's unstoppable. And it certainly feels that way at times. In fact, back in June, July, I wrote an article talking about how to trade an unstoppable bull market because that's the way it felt back then. Markets had gotten very overbought at that point on multiple levels. And again, it took a bit of time. The markets it stayed overbought for a lot longer period than you thought, than logically you think it would. But eventually it gave way to that overbought condition. And again, once again, here we are. The markets are really remaining very overbought here, very elevated, and seems to be this kind of unstoppable bull markets. Nothing's going to bring it down. Now, again, we're not talking about a major correction here, but markets have to breathe, right? You've got to get this some type of relaxation in the markets at a point in time to do that. But again, we just have to look at the market itself and just go back in time. Every time the market has been as overbought as it is now, right? You've had an eventual correction. Sometimes it comes sooner. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, like at the peak of the market in January of 2022. Took a little bit longer to get there. But every time that you get there, you're going to have at least some type of relaxation. Now, in a bull market, those relaxations are smaller than they are during a bear market. So when markets get overbought in a bear market, the drawdowns are larger. In a bull market, they're not as deep. You get 3 to 5% versus 5 to 10% in a bull market. But again, the point is that as investors, it's very tempting right now to go jump into the markets because there's nothing going to stop the markets. I'm missing out. I got to get in. I get it. But this is where the markets really kind of lure you in to doing the wrong thing. So at this point, if you're not in the market, you want to be in, I would just be patient here. Just let the markets come back to you a bit. They'll do that. You'll have an opportunity to put that money to work at a little bit better price. We're holding a little bit of extra cash just for that reason, right? So we have exposure to the markets. They're doing fine. But if we could get a little bit of a pullback, there's some things that we would like to buy at a little bit better price. And it really doesn't matter kind of what you look at right now. Everything is pretty much overbought on one metric or another, whether it's technology stocks, the energy stocks, whatever they are. If you look at a lot of different positions, they're overbought. So just those really popular stocks that people are wanting to get into, the things you hear about on CNBC, they're overbought. Give them a chance to come back to you. Find that entry point that gives you a little bit better risk reward on those entries. Okay, that's what you need to know before the bell this morning. When we come back from the break, we'll pick up with Danny Ratliff, who's joining this morning. Lots of stuff to get into this morning with him. So don't go away. More of the Real Investment Show coming up right after the break.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Coming up January the 27th, we're having a special event. It's called Navigating the Markets in a Presidential Cycle. Greg Valliere is coming to be the keynote presentation. Adam Taggart will be there. Michael Leibowitz, myself, will be spending the morning talking about the economy, the markets, presidential election cycles, what to expect. Tickets are on sale right now. Early bird registration on the website. If you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, click on the banner at the top. Tickets are $99. We've got very limited seating at Hotel Sonesta here in Houston. You get your early bird special now. Ticket prices will go up as we get into early January. Get your tickets now on the website, realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube page has all of our videos ready for your easy access. From 3 minutes on markets and money to each day's radio shows like Technically Speaking Tuesday, Financial Fitness Friday, and the latest analysis from Lance Roberts and Michael Leibowitz. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel for The Real Investment Show, or just click on the show links at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Small businesses are discovering that attracting and retaining top talent come down to more than just salary. In today's highly competitive job market, compensation is more than just wages. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, RIA Advisors Retirement Plan Consultant. Healthcare and retirement plans can make the difference in hiring and retaining the best employees. We can show you how to build an affordable, effective employment package that delivers true value for your workers and your business. Call me toll-free at 855-RIA-PLAN or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Good morning, Danny. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing great. How about you?
Awesome. It's, of course, Wednesday, getting ready to wrap up for the year. Can't believe it's almost over. Your kids ready for Christmas? They excited about Santa Claus?
Oh, I'm sure.
Do y'all have Shelf on the Elf? Elf on the Shelf? Elf on the Shelf. Shelf on the Elf.
Whatever the heck it is. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Like, this is one thing that I tell people often. If you have new children, like, do not get, suckered into this deal.
Well, no, I just see lots of videos. People are getting very creative about the elf. Oh, so
well,
do we have to? I guess we need to explain this. Do you know what Elf on the Shelf is?
I do, and once you explain it, I've got a funny story to tell you about.
Oh, I have plenty.
Yeah,
I have 18 years of stories with Elf on the Shelf. So the Elf on the Shelf, if you don't know, and you can go to a Hallmark store, you can go to
Walmart.
Christmas, Walmart, whatever, and there's a specific elf. It's a little red elf, and families do it differently. So I'm going to tell you the way that we did it, but the kind of the rules revolve around this. But the thing is, you put the elf on the shelf, and he's watching your kids, and the kids can't touch the elf. If they touch the elf, Santa Claus isn't coming, basically. So it's a very bad thing. Don't touch the elf. But the elf has to move every night. So every day, when the kids get up, the elf's going to be in a different place. And the people are getting very creative. They've got the elf moving around on camera at night. I'm not, just in case kids are listening. So, the elf moves around. But anyway, it's getting a little out of hand. But it's a great way to keep the kids in line, for Christmas. And they think they're being watched. And, there was a few times that
they're being watched.
There was a few times that so I'll give this one story. So we were having some, and not in our current house, but in a couple of houses ago that we had, we were having some construction done on the house, and I'd taken the elf and I had set him on top of the chandelier in the kitchen. Now, nobody ever turned the chandelier on, right? Who uses why do houses have dining rooms? I have no idea.
Why do kitchens have chandeliers?
Well, this was in the dining room. Anyway, the point is that nobody ever uses this room. Nobody ever goes in there. So I put it on top of this chandelier in the dining room and didn't think anything about it. Well, apparently, about mid-afternoon, my youngest daughter at the time, she calls my wife at work and is hysterical, screaming, crying, just blabbering stuff. And she's like, calm down. Tell me what's going on. And she goes, the elf is dying. And she's like, what happened? Is like, his leg fell off. So apparently what had happened is that one of the construction workers turned on the chandelier in the dining room, and the light bulb had touched the elf's leg and melted it off the elf, and the elf fell off the chandelier. The leg is still attached to the light bulb.
Oh, my goodness.
So this is trauma. So we had to get another elf and then come up with this whole story about how Santa came and got the elf and took him back to the North Pole to fix him back up. And so we actually restitched the leg back onto the elf and put a cast on him, and that's how he came back into the family after the fact.
Man, that is devotion to the myth.
But to this day, our kids will still talk about that because it was so traumatic.
Parents are really devoted to this thing.
Oh yeah.
Remember the tornadoes last week in Tennessee? My son-in-law and daughter in the closet, hunkered down. The kids have the helmet on. But during that event, somehow the elf moved around the house.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. So, Danny, you moving the elf?
Well, I just did get confirmation the kids aren't listening right now. No, I'm serious. I was like, wait a second. We may have to pivot here on this conversation. Yeah. No, this is the worst thing ever. I've got buddies who have younger children, and I see that they're posting things, and they're very ambitious with the things that they do. And I'm like, man, this is the worst thing you've ever done. Oh, this is great. No, I'm telling you, wait till they get older. We've been doing this for a while now. Our kids are, they're not old, but they're not extremely young either.
Right.
And but they notice. Oh, the elf moved. Yep. Probably had to go talk to Santa. Remember what you did yesterday.
I think it's got some very good benefits to it.
What a genius idea this guy came up with. I mean, there's over like 23 million elves floating around out there, and now you can, they have accessories for them. You can put them in skis. You can put them on Santa's sleigh. You can do all these different things, and make these big, scenes that they do. I mean, it's
right, and
it's crazy.
The reason I brought this up is because it's that time of the year, right? And you're absolutely right. Over 23 million of these elves have been sold since this idea.
What a genius idea!
What a genius idea! And we had talked about on Tuesday the American dream, right? And this whole idea that, capitalism is dead, the American dream is dead, it's out of reach, it's, you can't do it, but all you got to do, and again, you come up with an idea. And again, genius idea. Parents are always looking for some way to keep their kids in line, for Christmas, make them behave, those type of things. Great idea. Guy has made a fortune off of this.
Yeah.
And this is my whole point. So before you go out to say the American dream is dead, and there's a Wall Street Journal article out this morning I wanted to discuss with Danny, which is the American dream costs far more than most people will ever earn over their lifetime. That is correct. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, you will probably have a hard time reaching the American dream, right? The American dream is for people that reach out and take that risk to build something, to create, to do something that creates wealth. Working a 9 to 5 is fine. There's nothing, and I am not poo-pooing the idea of being a 9 to 5 employee, because we got to have them, right? You can't have capitalism without employees. You can't have a guy that creates this idea of elf on the shelf without somebody to produce the elves, right? So, you've got to have both sides of the coin. So there's certainly nothing wrong with that at all. But, this idea of the American dream, that capitalism is dead, it's unattainable, is just refuted day after day after day after day by people that start some business. And again, you see it on Etsy and on TikTok and wherever else. Somebody starts a YouTube channel and, does stuff like that, becomes an influencer and makes money. That's capitalism, right? They had a talent, they put it to work, they made money. And so the point is that anybody can do it. Capitalism is not restrained to a few. Capitalism is available for everybody, as we talked about on Tuesday, is that you just have to be willing to take the risk. But it's tough outside of that.
And there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5 job. I think that's what,
absolutely.
obviously that's what most people are working.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with this whole narrative is that the goalpost has been moved. And what I mean by that is that, the American dream has changed over the years. It used to be that, you wanted to provide for your family, you wanted a home, a reasonable home, you wanted to have a car that can get you from point A to point B. And I blame social media for this, is that, you just mentioned it, the influencers, all these people that go out and rent these fancy, cars and yachts and all the things that they do for an hour, and then they turn around and tell all their followers what they're doing. I think that most people have unreasonable expectations of what that actual American dream used to be is not the same as what it is today.
Well, but this is the problem. It's something we discussed, is that the American dream is not buying a house, right? Putting yourself into 30-year mortgage debt to buy a house is not the American dream.
But that's what most people think it is.
That's what the National Association of Realtors, have you seen the commercials on television? Got to buy a house, right?
Well, and every president for the last 20, 30 years has said the exact same thing.
Absolutely. Alan Greenspan, we got to have adjustable rate mortgages so that we can get more people into homes. That's where we've confused this idea about what capitalism is and what the American dream is. The American dream, as we pointed out in the article that we wrote, was people that came here from other countries or people that started with nothing. Oprah Winfrey's parents were janitors, and they started with nothing and they built something, right? And these are obviously outside examples, that the few Paul Mitchell, et cetera, that created multi-billion-dollar businesses. But there's a lot of people. There's the guy I've told y'all about the story about the guy that's around the corner from our house. He owns this little old-fashioned Conoco station, right, where you still drive up, they come out, they wipe your windshields, check your oil, fill up your gas. It's full service. That doesn't exist anymore. But he still does this. He's created a whole business around that, and he makes a very good living doing that. Guy that owns Scott's Auto down the street from our house built this. It started out as a one little 2-bay shop. Now takes up a whole corner block. It's been very successful running one business. But that's capitalism. That's the American dream. Anybody can do it, right? But we've taught people, Danny, to your point, is that we've taught people that, going into debt is the American dream, right? The more debt, the more credit cards you have, buy a house you really can't afford, buy a car you can't afford to drive. That's the American dream. And that's really not the case at all.
Well, that's the problem, right? So many people think that they're going to fake it till they make it. And unfortunately, they end up faking it the whole time because they've got this enormous amount of debt on their back that they just can't get out from. And so I think that's the struggle that many people deal with, is that, one, having realistic expectations, understanding, how to get from point A to point B, and then also understanding that it's not done. Most people just see, these people that have done very well. They don't see the blood, sweat, and tears behind it, right? They never saw that and all the things that were done prior to getting to the point where they are today. And I think that is the main point, is that you got to put a lot of work in. Well, and some people just aren't willing to do it.
Right. And they, it's always interesting. It's like they'll look to a guy and they'll say, there was a really great chart out yesterday. Actually, I wish I would have brought it this morning. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. But it was a great chart because, we talk about these guys that are overnight successes, and it seems like they just started with nothing, and all of a sudden they're a multimillionaire literally overnight.
Yeah.
And basically it just took 10 years to get there. And this chart shows that the average time for success is nothing happens for 9 years. And then finally around your 10th year, things really start to take off. But that's where all of that hard work and all that foundation you built has now started to pay dividends.
Yeah, I had a really good mentor years ago, and he would always tell me, listen, every day Do something productive. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll come back. We'll talk about this article a little bit more detail. I'll give you some of the stats. It's interesting. So, we'll talk about it. So don't go away. More with Danny Ratliff coming up right after the break.
The Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Coming up January the 27th, we're having a special event. It's called Navigating the Markets in a Presidential Cycle. Greg Valliere is coming to be the keynote presentation. Adam Taggart will be there. Michael Leibowitz, myself, will be spending the morning talking about the economy, the markets, presidential election cycles, what to expect. Tickets are on sale right now. Early bird registration on the website. If you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, click on the banner at the top. Tickets are $99. We've got very limited seating at Hotel Sonesta here in Houston. You get your early bird special now. Ticket prices will go up as we get into early January. Get your tickets now on the website, realinvestmentadvice.com.
Oh, Red, I declare, I plumb missed that candy coffee. Whatever am I gonna do?
Don't you worry, little darling. We'll watch it again on our YouTube channel.
Why, Red, I never.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all of our past presentations, from Candid Coffee and Lunch and Learn to special topic discussions, and all of our live show recordings preserved for you. Subscribe now to the Real Investment Show YouTube channel, or look for the link on our website at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
People watch these shows like, I can't believe these people. It's like, it's called scripted reality for a reason.
It's just like WWE with
exactly.
music.
Exactly. I asked my wife when she watches that stuff. She's like, but it's so good. I'm like, it's not real. Yeah, but it's so good. Good for what?
The Real Investment Show podcast. Same show, your schedule.
She calls it mindless television. It gets her brain. It gets her brain off of work.
Lose brain cells watching that
well,
stuff.
you explain that to her, and I will put y'all two in a room and let you deal with that. I promise you won't come out on the better end of that one.
I'm afraid of her too.
Y'all haven't met my wife, but my whole office is terrified of my wife.
The Real Investment Show podcast. Same show, your schedule.
So just
she's upstairs, isn't she?
She is upstairs.
Yep.
She's upstairs right now, as a matter of fact.
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
Probably listening to the show. So
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791, or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Health and financial security touches everyone within your organization. Offering benefits for all doesn't need to be complicated. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, Senior Benefits Consultant at RIA Advisors. RIA Benefits provides independent expertise to find solutions that speak to the mission of your business, the culture you want to establish, and the budget you are able to work within. Book a free consultation with me at realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, and we'll find a solution that takes care of your most important asset, your people. realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Now with the new and improved Before the Bell report, Candid Coffee, and Lunch and Learn replays, plus each day's radio shows. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
So, I want to talk a little bit more about this article that was in the Wall Street Journal today, talking about the American dream. Cost $3.4 million to achieve over a lifetime, and this is there's some points to this, and I think it's worth talking about. But it's also about your personal American dream is not the American dream of everybody, right? If your goal in life is to own a home, raise your family, be happy to whatever degree that is, you want to go travel once a year, whatever it is, whatever your desired lifestyle is, and it doesn't matter what it is, that's your American dream. Your American dream, when you say the American dream isn't being a multi-billionaire, right? That's great. We would all love that, right? But that's probably not realistic. But if you can be happy, be married, have a great partnership with your spouse, raise happy, healthy children, have great homecomings when they come home from school or college, they bring the grandkids over. You're not stressing to make ends meet. That's as good of an American dream as any, right? There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. I was talking to a young kid the other day. He called me. He had emailed me a couple of times. I said, look, just call me. Let's talk about this. Young kid just graduating high school, doesn't want to go to college. He says, it's just college isn't for me. And I go, there's nothing wrong with that. I said, it's fine. I said, what are you going to do? He says, I want to go to trade school and I will learn to weld. I want to go work on oil rigs. And I go, great. No problem with that at all. He's going to learn a trade, right, that's applicable and can be done anywhere. Maybe he doesn't get to work on oil wells, right? Could be on pipelines. Could be on anything that requires welders, something we're really short of, right? And he'll make good money. Now, he's never going to make, $1 million a year, right? But I have a good buddy of mine that he's a mobile welder. I mean, basically, he lives in a fifth wheel, and he travels the country, and he works 2 or 3 months at a time, and then he'll take off a couple of months, and he'll go, you know what? I think I want to go to Colorado and go skiing for the winter, and so he'll go to Colorado, take his fifth wheel, and he'll pick up jobs to weld and pipe fit in Colorado, and he'll ski for the entire winter. And then he'll go, well, I think I want to go to the mountains for the summer. And he does the same thing, right? But for him and his wife, they don't have any kids, but for him and his wife, they don't own a home. They just travel the country. And he works when he needs to work, and he makes enough money working to support the lifestyle he wants. That's as much, and they are totally happy, right? Now, for a lot of people, it's like, well, that's terrible. I wouldn't want to live that way. But for him, that's the American dream, right? He has total freedom in what he does. So I think it's very important when you hear these stories, and this is where Danny and I will converse here in just a second. I'll just read to you the headline from the story. The American dream costs $3.4 million to achieve over the course of a lifetime. Well, that depends on what you define as your American dream, right? It may be more than that. When you have a wife like mine, it's going to be more than that. I'm joking. I love you, honey. But for other people, it may not be. So I think you have to keep these things in perspective. And Danny and I talk about this all the time. We have clients that come in, do financial planning. We've talked about this on the show, Danny, is that there's some people come in and go, can I retire? And they have $10 million in the bank. And it's like, nope, you're not retiring, because their lifestyle is so large that $10 million won't support it. And I'm sure a lot of you are going, that's crazy. Right?
Yeah.
We have other people that come in that have maybe $500,000 saved up in their retirement accounts in their bank, and they are completely set to retire because they have a very nominal lifestyle and they're happy.
Or they have a pension. They have a number of different things. And I mean, I've told people that, like you said, a couple $100,000. Hey, great. You're in great shape. Very little debt. Mm-hmm. Don't spend a lot of money. Travel probably locally. And then you have some that, with tens of millions of dollars that they just can't do it. And so I think that's a really good point. And it also changes, I think, as we age too. I think everybody has these grandiose ideas as we're young, right? Oh, we're going to go do this. Problem is most people won't go do it, right? You get stuck in the job. Oh, wait, I can't leave here.
I know that feeling.
Yep. Guess what? It doesn't change for you. I'm sorry. Lance is a prime example. So, but, and that's a really good point that, people's dreams and hopes and wishes are always different. What I find, though, especially as we age, is that we just want security, for the most part. I mean, everybody would like to be able to go afford and do whatever they want. But at the same token, I think to be able to live a safe, secure, a lifestyle with freedom, or even a lifestyle where, you have enough saved where maybe you still want to work. You enjoy your job. You like the sense of purpose that it provides. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to say, go in and say, hey, take this job and shove it if that changes.
Right.
And I think that's an enormous amount of freedom.
Right. And I think, and I think ultimately at the end of the day, when you come down to what is the American dream is, right, that it's just the function of having freedom. And again, that's achievable without having $3.4 million, right, or whatever the number is. If you can stay, this is when we talk about, keeping debt limits low, not getting yourself into a bunch of credit card debt, saving, having good, strong savings program, have a good earnings profile. If you're not earning enough money, figure out ways to earn more money, right? That's not complicated to do, but you just have to start taking actions. We kind of laid out 10 rules the other day talking about this issue, about 10 steps to take, and that article's still on the website. If you go to if you missed that conversation, there's an article on the website talking about the American dream. It's on the website now at realinvestmentadvice.com, but we laid out 10 steps for achieving the American dream of whatever dream that is for you. And again, it's different for everybody. So it's just something to think about. But I thought this was interesting. They say that, $3.4 million to achieve over the course of lifetime, getting married, saving for retirement, and this is according to analysis from Investopedia. Meanwhile, the median lifetime earnings for the typical U.S. worker stand at $1.7 million. But, and so the problem I have with that kind of analysis is that it just lumps everybody all together.
Yeah, no, it does.
And we know for a fact that a lot of these numbers are heavily skewed by the top 10% of income earners.
Correct. So the majority of people reading this will not be able to attain that regardless of the situation. And, we talk about how, so many people are underfunded, how many people rely on Social Security for either, like a quarter of the people out there on Social Security rely on it for 90% of their retirement income.
Right.
Half the people rely on it for half of their retirement income. So we have a big problem with savings. And so most of these people, their dreams probably look a lot different from others, right? They're just trying to make ends meet. And that's unfortunate. And that's where I think this article, like you said, I mean, it's way off base because, you look at the average of most of these things and you look at the median, those numbers are quite different.
Exactly. And again, it's also defining, and again, what this article goes through, and again, look, we all have excuses of why we can't do stuff, right? I can't get to the American dream because, inflation's too high. My health care costs are too high. My this is too high. My that's too high, and that eats up all my money. Yeah, those are all valid reasons, but those are also the excuses that we lean on for not achieving something, right? Not going out and saying, okay, I've got to do something to better myself. I've got to increase my education. I've got to get a second job. I've got to create something, whatever it is, yes, there's a lot of impediments. And this is the point of the article that we wrote, is that there's a ton of impediments to keep you from getting to where you want to be. And the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ones that hit those impediments and then quit, right? And there's a lot. I mean, healthcare costs are high, no doubt about it, right? What can you do about that? Take better care of yourself so you don't have to depend on those healthcare costs as much. You don't have big out-of-pocket expenses, those type of things. Eat better. Take your vitamins, exercise, do those type of things. You can minimize some of these costs by taking actions to improve your own personal situation, whether it's better education, working a second job, creating a new, creating something that people want, going to find whatever it is, creating an elf on the shelf, that works.
I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yeah, I know, right? Me too.
Man.
But there's so many things that you can do. You just have to start doing it and, taking those steps. And again, this article goes, I'll just read to you from this, here's how much Investopedia estimates a family must spend to afford some of the hallmarks often associated with the American dream. Well, what are the hallmarks associated with the American dream? A house, right? As we said before, the house is not the American dream. The house is the symbol of achievement of the American dream. People that came to this country with 2 nickels in their pocket didn't buy a house. They worked, they saved, they created something, and they built wealth. And then they bought property. They became property owners. They bought a house. And that was the symbol of the American dream. That's where it originally derived from. But we've now associated with it as saying, look, if you don't own a house, you don't have the American dream. And that's absolutely not the case. Going into debt to buy something is not the American dream. Hospital birth, average out-of-pocket cost for people with health care, $5,700. I'm going to read these to you, and I'm going to tell you why there's a solution for this. Wedding and engagement ring, $35,000. That's stupid. Raising 2 children to 18 years old, I can vouch for this, $576,000. They are expensive, right? No doubt about that. 10 car purchases over a lifetime, right? That's purchasing a car basically, I guess, every 5 years, Danny, roughly. So $271,000 in cars.
That number's probably light. They haven't seen these numbers or updated them since the pandemic.
1 year of college costs for 2 kids, $42,000. My kids pay for their own college. Average cost to buy a home, including lifetime mortgage payments, $796,000. Pets, $70,000. Health insurance from ages 26 to 65, $1 million, $934,000 to be exact. Retirement, $715,000. Funeral costs, $7,800. When we come back from the break, Danny and I are going to tell you how to defeat all of these. Don't go away.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Coming up January the 27th, we're having a special event. It's called Navigating the Markets in a Presidential Cycle. Greg Valliere is coming to be the keynote presentation. Adam Taggart will be there. Michael Leibowitz, myself, will be spending the morning talking about the economy, the markets, presidential election cycles, what to expect. Tickets are on sale right now. Early bird registration on the website. If you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, click on the banner at the top. Tickets are $99. We've got very limited seating at Hotel Sonesta here in Houston. You get your early bird special now. Ticket prices will go up as we get into early January. Get your tickets now on the website, realinvestmentadvice.com.
Small businesses are now being challenged by the lack of employees and how to attract and recruit the best employees. To get the better employee, you'll have to offer a better package. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, RIA Advisors Retirement Plan Consultant. Don't assume a 401k plan is too costly or complicated for your small business to offer. Let us show you how to make the most of an affordable and effective plan that will deliver true value for your business and your employees. Call me toll free at 855-RIA-PLAN or online at realinvestmentadvice.com. That's realinvestmentadvice.com.
Have the market's gyrations made you nervous? If so, it's because you have more risk in your portfolio than you realize. It's time to reevaluate your long-term investing strategy with RIA Advisors. Our disciplined approach can help eliminate unnecessary risk. We do that by having both a buy and sell discipline. Does your advisor do that? If you think it's time to work with an advisor who puts your interests first, it's time for real investment advice. RIA Advisors, 855-RIA-PLAN, RIAadvisors.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Real quick, before we get into how to defeat this high cost of living for the American dream, you've heard the commercial this morning, but I do encourage you, go by the website, realinvestmentadvice.com. There's a banner right at the top of the page for our upcoming summit on January the 27th. Navigating the markets in a presidential election cycle. We're going to be talking about the economy, the markets next year. Where money tends to go during presidential election years, et cetera. Talk about different outcomes. Greg Valliere, who is a kind of a legend on Wall Street, will be our keynote speaker. He specializes in kind of this political backdrop to markets and the economics of it. And so, again, I encourage you, if you want to come, we'd love to have you. Seating is very limited. We only have 150 seats at Hotel Sonesta here in Houston. It's the Galleria. Go by the website. It's a $99 ticket cost right now. That will go up once we get into January, closer to the event. So I encourage you, if you want to come, please come, but be sure and get signed up now. Save yourself some money. And we'll see you on January the 27th. But we'll be talking about this a lot more between now and then. And But again, I think it's something that you'll definitely want to be there for.
Yeah, and this will be something that's not on the web either. So
right.
if you want to attend, you need to be here in Houston. Yep. You'll get to meet the team. So be a good event.
Yeah. Due to a variety of copyright reasons, we cannot record and post this video. So it is only a live event. So if you want to come, you need to be there. So just talking about, the American dream, and I thought this was very interesting from this article, just going through what the average person spends according to this, a wedding and engagement ring, $35,000, raising 2 kids, $600,000, healthcare cost, $1 million basically. And, and there's no doubt, I'm not arguing that these costs aren't valid, right? Those are what people spend. My daughter came to me the other day and we were just talking, my older daughter, and she's in college, and she was just, talking about, I can't wait to, when I get married, I have this idea for my wedding and it's going to be this, that, and this thing. I said, that's all on you. I said, your mom and I aren't paying for your wedding. I said, what I will do is when you get married, I will put a check in a savings account for you both for your retirement, and it'll be invested for you. And that'll be there. That will be our present to you. But, whatever you want to spend on your one-day party for your wedding that's on you. You're going to have to figure it out. But, but this, the idea of this engagement ring, the wedding ring, the big weddings, where does that come from? All comes off of media, people trying to sell you products. And so you've got to get past what other people think and start focusing about what's important for you and what matters to you. And I was telling Danny on the break, I said, if I brought home a $40,000 ring for my wife, she would shoot me in the head, right? She's like, what are you doing? This is a complete waste of money. We need this money for other things. And so, this is, and this is the book, The Millionaire Next Door, right? If you need a book to kind of center yourself, go read the book, A Millionaire Next Door. And there's a lot of people that you will never know that have more than $1 million in savings. They live in a frugal house. They drive a 10-year-old pickup truck with the bumper falling off the back of it, and they got tons of money. But they're happy, right? And we're talking about happiness. And look, if material things make you happy, there's nothing I can do to change your mind. You've got to figure that out, right? You need to make more money to have the material things that make you happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying there's anything wrong. But when you look at some of these costs, you have to figure out, well, what can I do to defeat some of these things? Let's talk about healthcare. Health insurance is a good example. Danny talks about the HSA all the time. Danny.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's so many different options that you have out there. You mentioned a lot of them on the last segment, really, that, it's about taking care of yourself. Now, granted, there's going to be things that pop up that, you just can't account for. And you may be the healthiest person in the world. And yeah, I mean, that's a prime example, Lance. Thanks for bringing that up. But these are things that happen. And so to take more time to do preventative action, I think is very helpful. Now, granted, we're still always going to have these costs, especially as we age. So where are you putting funds? How are you saving money? We talk about the hierarchy of savings frequently. We've talked a lot about the HSA, just talking about year-end planning. What should you be contributing to if you have the ability to do so? Not everybody has the ability to contribute to a health savings account, but that's one way to put funds aside, not use them, let those grow. That's just one thing. And, you mentioned the amount of money you spend between 26 and 65 was like $934,000. Mm-hmm. But they never addressed the cost once you reach 65, which, the average person's living, 78, 79 now. Yep. And they estimate a couple at 65 is going to be $350,000 to $400,000 in healthcare expenses.
And a lot of that has to do with poor diets, lack of exercise, poor health, diabetes, heart conditions, heart disease, you name it.
Well, I think what it is that they say you need this pill. Oh, wait, now you need this pill because of this side effect, and you need this one. Next thing you know, you turn around, and you're like, wait a second, what am I all on?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, there's so many issues with that. But that's a really good one, Lance.
And I like that, look, the average cost to buy a home, including lifetime mortgage payments, $796,000, right? Okay, first of all, you can knock that down a lot. First of all, buying a house that's reasonable. In terms of, instead of buying a 5-bedroom house, you buy something more moderate that you can live in to be happy with, but save up that 20% down payment. Don't do a 5% down payment with a 95% mortgage run at high interest rates. That doesn't make sense, right? do the things to bring down your cost, accelerate your mortgage payments over time. And again, we didn't even talk about some of this other stuff, just to offset just out of pocket costs. That's why you have to have an emergency savings fund. And then we talked about this the other day when Danny, last Wednesday actually, is talking about just kind of figuring out a budget. 50% of your income, right, needs to fall within those required payments, right? That's your mortgage payment, that's your car payment, those things, utility cost, all that needs to be within 50% of whatever you make. If it's outside of that, you need to either increase the income or change the purchases, right? So that you can stay within that 20% goes to, the other things in life, trying to, just have fun, do the things with your family, take care of the kids, whatever, that needs to be in the 20% bracket. 30% of all that needs to be going into savings, your emergency savings, your retirement savings, those type of things. And that's not a hard set rule, right? People have different numbers of that. But if you fall within some type of that structure, you're more likely going to have the ability to have the cash flow to save and invest and offset some of these costs later on in life.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, you mentioned a couple of things like the wedding or engagement rings. I think the majority of the time that's emotional. It's emotionally driven.
Sure.
And those industries have been great at making us believe that we have to have these things. You mentioned the real estate industry, but shoot, look at funerals, babies being born.
I was going to tell you, my wife is going to get a very big diamond ring.
Okay.
Yep. Because when I die, they have a new service where they can take your ashes and they compress it and they make a diamond out of it. So, babe, the big diamond's coming.
You may not want to tell her that. I mean, it may come sooner now, Lance.
Exactly. That's okay.
We're
I'm
more
completely
dead
fine
than
with
alive.
that. I may need personal protection detail.
That's right. But I think, putting these things in perspective is so important. I remember when we had our firstborn, we went to go shop for baby furniture. And I mean, cribs were like $2,000 and $3,000. I mean, things were just so expensive. And I thought, finally, I looked at my wife. I said, listen, do you remember your crib when you were born? She's like, no. I was like, neither do I. Yeah. So is this for us to have a fancy or a nice room, or is this for the baby to keep the baby safe and healthy?
You know what? Do you know what my two kids grew up on?
No.
I
may not want to know here.
No. We didn't have cribs. We took a single, like those, the mattresses that go in the cribs, those little big cribs.
Yeah.
We set it flat on the floor. So if they rolled off, the mattress, it was a 1-inch fall, right? But that was their crib, right? We didn't pay for cribs. We didn't do all that other type of stuff. It was just, we set them on the.
I'm impressed they had. I thought you were going to tell me like the Yellow Page phone book or something. You just put a bunch of them together.
We just put everything down on the floor, and they were just. And to your point, I brought this up today. It's like, yeah, when you were growing up, you just slept on the floor basically, and they have no idea. They can't remember.
Yeah, they don't know unless you showed them a picture.
Exactly.
But that's the problem with these things. Even funerals. Funerals, I'm always, they say $700, $800. I think it's probably more than that, just talking and seeing this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because people get emotional. Oh, no, they can't have this box. They have to have this,
They have to have a weatherproofed, waterproof hole in the ground.
Yeah. You're gone. It's going to be okay. Like, I don't care what you do with me. I mean, I'm not here.
Wrap me up in a towel, throw me in the dirt, let the bugs have me. It's fine.
Yeah. No, but that's the problem. I think that we get emotionally driven by a lot of these types of decisions that therefore they create bad habits too. It's like my father when I was young said, listen, don't ever go buy a fancy car. I said, okay, what do you mean? He's like, because once you do, you're never going to go back to, being more reasonable. You're always going to want a newer car. And you do see these types of things. Right. And not that any of these things, there's anything wrong with them. But we're talking about accumulating wealth. It's just like getting healthy, eating proper. It doesn't mean you need to be on some huge, enormous diet. You can still go out and splurge here and there, but it needs to be good habits done little by little over a long period of time.
Yep.
And that's the problem that I think most people forget.
Well, it's just like Keith Klein we used to have him on the show to talk about, being healthy and doing those type of things. He had a very simple saying, which is it works great for money too, which is have better bad habits. In other words, it's okay to go out and eat a burger, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe eat the burger without mayonnaise, or without cheese.
Maybe you don't need all the fries.
Yeah, something. Just make better bad choices. And that's the same thing in life with saving money and preparing for retirement. We need to live. We need to be happy, right? We need to do some things. Just make better bad choices financially, and it'll be okay.
Yep.
So, all All right, Danny, thank you so much.
Thank
Be sure
you.
you get by the website, realinvestmentadvice.com. Get signed up for our upcoming summit on January the 27th with Greg Valliere on navigating the markets in a presidential cycle. Again, it'll be a great opportunity. Myself, Michael Leibowitz will be there. Adam Taggart's coming in. So we'll be having a panel discussion as well as some other presentations. We're going to feed you breakfast and lunch. It'll be a great time. We'll see you on January 27th, but get by the website. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. realinvestmentadvice.com. See you back here tomorrow for the Fed Day speech update with Michael Leibowitz. Talk to you then.